Especially for those of you who haven't bought any equipment yet, this could be useful to you guys. So this we've talked about is a new box. It's smaller, just five frames. Mark was kind enough to share his white one with me. So when you go to buy frames or your new hives, there are options, and this is deep. There's 3 standard sizes. There's custom. The 3 standard sizes are deep, that's the brood, that's where the queen lays. Guess what? She's gonna lay wherever she wants on any frame that she wants, but in theory, the brood boxes are deep, and that's what this frame looks like. And I brought all different stages of what the frames look like. So this is a deep frame and it's black foundation, okay? So you wax it. Someone's going to talk about waxing your frames to give the bees, you know, a little kickstart there. So this has been waxed and not a bee has touched it. This, they started to draw it out a little bit, right? So you can just see that they started to draw out some comb, some wax where they're going to ultimately lay. This is a black foundation. That's what I prefer to use in my hives. But when you're in it for a little bit, it's only been 4 years for me, you're going to have mishaps, and then you're going to have friends that help you, and then you're going to end up with other kinds of stuff. And so anyway, we have a black one. This is a medium. This is where the super, so this is a deep box, medium box, also known as super. It's super because that's where the honey's going to go, theoretically, and usually it is. So you can see there's some capping in here, some drawn out wax. This is a nice frame, not fully drawn out, but you're always in different stages of what's happening in the hive. This is a white frame. This is an option. Mark, is there a benefit to the white? I don't know because I don't run this way, but it's just preference. Tom.
I use a lot of those for honey supers, the white ones.
White.
One thing I might want to add when you use the black is the black ones are great. I love them because you can see the eggs, light eggs, when the queen starts to lay. Any of you that have been beekeepers for a couple of years, you have excess wax, you save your wax. You can put wax right back on frames. They never put enough wax on their frame. I'll tell you this, be generous with your wax. When you put it on, it makes it much more attractive for them to start to form the frame.
It's a jump start. That's exactly right. Tom's been in this for a long time.
If you skip on wax, they're going to leave spots like that, and it's wasted space.
Yeah.
And they'll look at it like, we don't want to work on that. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're generous with the wax.
Question about waxing that is it too early to wax now? Or do you want to wait until spring when they're starting to build out?
You have new frames that you use?
I have some that need to be re-waxed.
Yeah, you can
do it now.
I would go over your frames that last year that maybe didn't get waxed out quite well enough. And also if you have new stuff, it's quite fine to go ahead and start.
So ask 2 beekeepers, right? So I give it a slightly different answer. I would do exactly what Tom says. I wax them up, but just before I put them on the hive, I give it one more coat of fresh wax, because if it, I wax it up, I'm going to be using them, and then it turns out you don't use them for 4 or 5 months. That bee wax smell isn't as rich, so you give that last little stroke. It doesn't have to be much, so you can do a lot of your wax now. Just put that last stroke on there, and then drop them in, and you'll watch them just go. Ooh.
How's that go? The smell anywhere. So that is true. I like the black because it's easier to see the egg. And also when you take your frame out into the sunshine and you look, you will cry the first time you see an egg because it's just so beautiful. But also there's a shine sometimes and you're like, is that the egg or is that the shiny whatever? So it's confusing. Be generous on yourself.
Yeah.
Royal jelly, it can be a lot of different things, but you'll know an egg when you know an egg. It's a dot the first day she lays it, and someone will correct me, but then the second day it stands up and it looks like a little dash, and then it gets taller like day 4, and then it'll go into the C formation, but that's what you're looking at. So that's where the dark is helpful. Yes,
I would caution people against wood frames.
okay.
Because if you've ever had a wood frame come apart in your extractor, it is a mess.
It is a mess, but I'm gonna give a reason why you should have one too, because Monica Mayhem, that's what they call me. So I preferred the black.
I hate plastic.
Medium. I know. And where's Carissa? She hates plastic. Howard loves wood. So that's where you're gonna get a mix. Yes, sir.
Wood connotates to wax foundation, which old beekeepers say is most attractive to using by the bees.
I think it's beautiful too. It's beautiful.
It's more tedious, but it's quicker for them to
Right.
use it.
I have some really tree hugging friends too that will only use the wood frame and then they put jute around and let the bees do all of that work, drawing out the comb. That's a little intense on the bees, in my opinion, but that's why we all have our own style. So these frames, as Mark will attest, are very useful and I'm glad that I had them. And it was because last year, my mayhem, my queen went out, got mated, she came back to the hive and missed the mark. She went underneath it and started building and laying and brood the whole thing. I had bees outside around the hive. Mark came over, thank you again, and we found the queen, we found all of this beautiful wax, and we had to attach it to just the wooden frame. Okay, so we had a wooden frame. I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody else. It was rare air. It was crazy.
Just you, Monica.
Just, I know, but it will happen. It will happen. So we cut this wax out from underneath the hive and we attached it to just this wooden frame and we rubber banded it, however, and got it back into the hive where they should be, and it was successful. Yay, team.
If you collect a swarm, you need wooden frames to do exactly the same thing.
Okay, when I caught my own swarm in my driveway, thank you, Laura, and it just left the hive and went to the tree right there. And I just put waxed frames and frames that had honey and brood in one of these boxes in a new box,
Established.
and then they all just flooded right in. A little lemongrass, I think we added, whatever. So then you're okay.
Let me correct myself. If you're collecting a swarm that has established, which could be a cutout,
Oh, sure,
yeah,
sure.
then you have to have those wooden frames, or it's really tough.
Right. Green frame. Oh, pray tell the green frame. So
It's leaking.
it is leaking. I know. I took it out of the freezer. So a green frame, I didn't know. I thought they only came in a super size, but they also come deep, someone told me. And a green frame, the foundation, oh, this is one thing. The next year I scraped off all the wax to get them back to new. Rookie mistake, people. Anyone like boo, hiss me? That was really bad. And I didn't know that you left the wax on for the next year and the next year and the next year. I had carved it down. What a waste. That's just taboo and bad news for any new people. Yes, Tom.
So I'll point something out. This frame. If you're going through your frames, okay, you're gonna see areas where the wax is going over where the frame is.
Yes.
Those are opportunities. For opportunities for you, get a nice bucket, get your hive tool nice and sharp, clean up all your frames. That way, you're gonna have extra wax when you do your frames, okay? So at the end of the season, that's a good cleanup thing to do. And you're gonna save yourself money. So it keeps things clean.
Yes, but not take it all the way down to the foundation, right? But the green one also is printed, just like you can see this white one, the cells, there's thousands of little printed, indented, and that's what they'll draw off of, okay? So this is a standard cell size for the queen when she's laying and fertilizing the female egg, okay? The green one, this is a larger cell, and the foundation that is printed on the green one is larger because drones are bigger, and when they draw out this comb, you can see that it's bigger, right? Now, I was taught that the green frame, put it on the second and the brood on the bottom, when that's filled with drone, and that's where Varroa Varroa mites and hive beetles will get in there because it's a bigger cell and they will eat off of that larvae. You can take this out, throw it away, not throw it away, but just discard it or freeze it because you want to kill any disease and so that is what the green frame is about, a little bit larger again, and you can pass that around. I think it smells like heaven.
No,
I wouldn't pass
you're
it. Don't pass it
making-
around. Okay, don't pass it around. Don't pass it around. Okay, don't do that. Come up and
Let's not
smell
mess
if you want.
this place.
Am I missing a frame style? Anybody that knows?
There's another size called a shallow.
Shallow, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't do that, so I didn't have one. And it's maybe to here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Howard, do you use the shallows?
They make for a good honey soup.
Yeah, because it gets heavy. They're like 10 pounds once they're loaded and capped and full of
You
honey.
could get like tomatoes.
Okay,
If you have shallows that you want to use. I have some. And
is that feeder, the wooden box that we use for our feeders, is that a shallow
you can
box?
use that.
Yeah.
You can use those feeder boxes.
Right, so Ike is where most of us buy our equipment. Nice Amish guy out in Nickel Mines, I think it is, and they have everything and they're upgrading and we'll get into that later. Do you want me to talk about inner covers or something else?
I'm gonna set up a whole hive.
Okay, so the whole hive, I put some insulation, that's what that looks like inside of there. It all fits together like a puzzle, it's overwhelming, I know. I still feel like a new beekeeper. I guess that's it, all I got.
Well, Donna's setting up, I'll show you, 2 bottom boards, just this by way of example. So you got this one wonderful bottom board here. Ike sells these, by the way. Okay, what the heck is up with this thing? Beetle, mites, critters, all can fall down through the screen into the diatomaceous earth or oil, not motor oil. Vegetable oil or mineral oil is actually better. Use vegetable oil, it will turn rancid and start to smell. But mineral oil seems to be the best choice. And it kills the mites and the hive beetles immediately. If you put it in diatomaceous, it could take, it might not kill it quick enough. Maybe eventually it dies, but then it's still out wandering around. So that's one.
Sucks up
That's
a lot of moisture as well.
Say it again.
He sucks up a lot of moisture as well.
Yeah, Sheena.
Diatomaceous earth is not effective if it's not dry.
Correct.
And with mature insects, it's not necessarily effective. So like the hive beetles, it doesn't quickly or even at all kill them. They got that waxy layer that protects them. So it's good for killing their larvae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mentioned you should always use mineral oil. Sheena.
How do you get rid of your mineral?
I normally take it over to Carissa's house and I pour it.
Okay, what's the address?
Okay. No, you dispose of your mineral oil just like you would motor oil. You take it to, you pour it into the container and you take it to a disposal place. I know mine's up on Route 3. I drop it off where they do an oil change and they have a disposal place. Don't dump it in your yard. Yes.
I'm building my own screen frame bottom boards. What size screening or
This
hardware?
is
1/8.
number 8.
I haven't been able to find that anywhere. I find 1/4 inch.
Maxwell's Hardware in downtown, just off the downtown street.
Tractor Supply has as well. There was another question over.
Instead of using mineral oil, I use detergent,
Yes.
soapy water. You
Yeah.
don't have to worry about where you get rid of it.
True.
Landon Flies taught us that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does the thing.
Good point. The other thing that you might want to consider is, depending on how it's built, you might want to just run a piece of duct tape across the back. It kind of hangs over here. So if you get rain coming in this, it doesn't fill it up with rainwater on top of your oil or, diluting your soap. And one more is here's a screen bottom board. This is perfect, right? Works great. It fits on the hive just like that. All the fun stuff falls down into what?
Nothing.
Oh yeah, you put the slide in. What's this? This is a solid piece of wood.
Did you make
How do I put the slide in? No, I didn't make it. So this is where Ernie's not here, I don't think, but this is where you do some modifications. You make a slit down here so that you can slide. And then you put a little channel along each side so that you can put the plastic slide in to cover up the wide open. Lots of different saying, oh, wow, yeah, but you've got the,
They can go in the front.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the problem with this one?
I picked it up at the, what do we do?
Yeah.
Auction.
So if you look at
That's
this
the
one,
problem is.
again, solid across the back, here's the front, and the slide goes in from the front. Where do you not want to work your beams?
In the front, never.
Yeah, this is, it'll work, but it's not ideal.
So I'm gonna build a hive from the bottom up. And I'm gonna go through what's necessary and what's not necessary. This is called a hive stand. This is not necessary. Somebody gave me a bunch, I believe it might have been Tony. Was it you?
Run, Tony, run.
Somebody gave
That's
me,
what it was.
yeah, you gave me like 5 of these. So I was like, well, I have them, I'll use them. What did you say? You wanted to get rid of them?
I don't use.
You don't use them. So before I build this up, what you're gonna see here is a screen bottom board and a solid bottom board. And what Mark was talking about was having that channel to slide that white thing in. For the reason we use that is if you do a mite treatment, all the mites will fall to the bottom and drop on here. I don't even really bother. To me, it's, I mean, what are you gonna do? Count them? I'm gonna count them when I do a mite treatment or a mite wash. So I don't even really bother with it. I basically just run this in the summertime, so there's air, there's ventilation. And then when the fall comes, I switch them over and I do a solid bottom board. Too much work?
Yes.
Probably. Probably, but that's just what I do. I don't have 100 hives. I have anywhere from 2 to 4. So I tend to baby them a little bit. So basically, if you have a hive stand, basically all that does is it gives the bees a landing board and the hive beetles. So all of the pests can run into your hive effectively. So that's the bottom. Standard equipment, a brood box. I'm gonna, before you can hold your comments. Hold your comments. What I'm putting up here is 10 frame hives. My person that got me into this was up in Kutztown. And he's like, you need a deep box for your brood and you need supers. So I wanna
say, you do not need a deep box
I know,
for brood.
no, you
You
don't.
may use all mediums
Well, I'm
and it
getting
works
to
just
that.
fine.
I'm getting to that.
You do not have to have a deep brood box.
You don't, and I'm getting to that. Because had I done this again, I would not have done that. Once you put on your super, you don't need this, but a lot of people run them. It's a queen excluder. It will stop your queen from coming through, but it won't stop the bees. So you would put a queen excluder on, your super,
Got a question?
depending, who's got a question? What's up?
Alright, so I've just heard, I don't know if it's true or not, because I've never run a queen excluder, but I've heard that they can damage the queens sometimes. Is that true?
I mean, I would imagine anything's possible, but I've never seen it happen.
Rare, very rare.
Yeah,
Metal excluders are preferable over the.
okay, Carissa. But if you didn't buy them, now I'll tell you what, the metal queen, I went and bought them because Carissa gave me a hard time. Carissa's not here, but Carissa works in environmental stuff, we'll just say, and she's very much against plastic. I had already bought these, so for me, these worked because I had them. I went ahead and ordered some of the metal ones. On the metal ones, where the metal folds over, is a great little home for hive beetles. I feel like they're all getting trapped in there and staying in there, and it's driving me nuts, and I'm thinking, plastic is only bad when we throw it in landfills, as long as I take care of it and don't throw it away.
Probably easier to clean, right? Cause you can just crack it.
Yeah, I haven't really had to clean, I
No,
scrape it
no, I
down a
tried.
little bit.
Don,
Cleaning
what's
the plastic ones, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah,
Going to all metal because you can put a heat gun.
I mean, I
in.
use
That's right, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say, heat gun to the metal.
Don, what's the reason why you think the metal are better?
Smoother transit for the bees getting through. And I think they propolize the plastic.
do you?
Oh, they're a mess.
Yeah.
But you can take the heat gun to the metal.
Don't use the heat gun on the plastic.
You haven't gone into solar melters either. You can just stick that metal,
Right, and
cleaner screen and it just cleans it right off in the summer.
So what's gonna really determine whether you buy plastic or metal? Your pocketbook, honestly, these are a lot cheaper. I find that they do the perfect, either one can work, it all depends on what you're gonna wanna buy. This will get the job done. Is it gonna have some downfall? Absolutely. Don't buy a lot, just throw them in a landfill. I mean, if you're gonna buy them, I just use them over and over, and now I have started buying the better ones. Anyway, moving on, that's gonna go there, that's gonna go there. This piece here, necessary or unnecessary, depending on what lid you go with. So if you go with a standard telescoping lid, which is this, it's going to hang over. If I didn't have that inner cover and I put this on top and the bees attach this top to this, there's no way I can get under here to pry these apart. So this piece is necessary so that the bees can only seal this to this now. When I put this over top, they're not sealing this because they're already sealed in those two layers. They're gonna leave this alone. You can lift that off. You can get your Hive tool in here, create a separation and lift it. If you bring, and Mark did, can I borrow it? We don't really have to go all the way through this. Migratory covers are for exactly that word. For people that take their hives to on trucks and they take them to like an apple orchard or an orange orchard and they're traveling with them. When you put a migratory cover on, this is for a nuke clearly, not for this, but it doesn't hang over the edge. Because it's not hanging over the edge, you could theoretically eliminate this and still get into the side to open it up. I have these on my nukes. The only thing I don't like about these is that with rain, if it catches that lip, it can run into your hive. So I think the telescoping are more beneficial if you're a backyard beekeeper and you're only doing a couple. But if you're taking your hives and you're moving, you're gonna need these in order to get the hives together, to strap them together so that they're flush. You can't put your hives together with this. Now, what Carol was saying, because my guy told me, well, this is standard, this is what I bought, a deep hive. Mark had mentioned something about demaraying. And when you're switching your frames, it's swarm season. Basically what that means is you're going to take the hives, or the frames with eggs and brood, and you're gonna rotate them to the top and you're gonna let the bees come out of that. And then you're gonna kind of rotate down the empty ones. And you're basically always keeping room for your queen to lay so that hopefully she's happy and it doesn't get too overcrowded. That's just a really quick thing.
So they won't swarm.
So they don't swarm.
Yeah.
All right.
So that setup is deep, super deep, demarine.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
just so they know.
Not
I don't.
necessarily.
I just go deep with a queen excluder in the middle.
You go,
Okay.
you need a medium.
Well, it's not getting
Yeah,
to,
exactly.
so
Yeah.
this is a lot of weight.
100 pounds.
It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. I'm a pretty strong woman. I lift, I can, this is damn heavy, especially when they start putting it. The other thing is that we can be strong, but when you are lifting from the front of your body this way, it is not the same as this, and you're not working your hive like this. So what I have learned is I want to take all these, throw them out, and build like a horizontal hive. And if I had to do it again and buy equipment for you new people, I would go medium.
Yeah.
So then I would go medium for brood, and then medium for supers. And anything that you want to do is interchangeable and exchangeable.
Frame management is so much
Range
easier.
management is so much easier. Take it from the people that made the mistake.
4 years ago, I cut all my deeps down.
So here's what I want to say
Thank
about
God.
that. If you decide you want to try deep, or you decide that you've got some deep frames, you could get a shim. I made this myself. You can attach a super on top of it. Where's Monica? Can I borrow a deep? Sure. The nice thing about putting this on the bottom is I don't have to worry about building in that frame lip, which is more construction than I can handle. I can use the super on the top. I can put that on there, and you can see now that I've got my deep frame in there. And it made it work. So all that is a cheap way to kind of convert it if you needed to.
If you cut down your deeps, you wind up with nice shims.
You do, but I'm trying to figure out a way to make a horizontal hive out of it. I don't know. I really want a horizontal. I don't know, because I just want a challenge. So anyway, so putting this all together, you've got your bottom, you've got your deep, or one we're just going to call this brood. I'm not even going to call it deep. You've got your brood box, you've got your queen excluder, you've got your super, you've got your inner cover. On your inner cover, I also learned this the hard way. There's a little entrance for your bees to come in and out of. That goes away from you. I don't know how long I worked it before Tony came over and he goes, yeah, you see that little entrance thing, Donna? That's supposed to go the other way. Tony was my mentor.
And if this were a 8 frame box, then this garden cover, which is the third type. So you have your telescoping, you have your migratory cover, and then this is your garden cover. The nice thing about the garden cover is you can put your foam here and still have room to put food all along here above an inner cover or directly over the hive.
Did you show them a deep inner cover?
Nice. So this is just a shim inner cover.
Well, when we made sugar bricks, I filled this, I had a hole drilled out here and made a pathway, and this was total sugar brick. And that way it's an insulation. The bees can come and feed. In my very first year I did it, they only ate like that much. It wasn't much. But you have to give them, I do upper ventilation. Some people do, some people don't. So, but this is another option. You can also put your insulation in here, flip it either way on. There's so many options, so don't get overwhelmed. Whoever you're gonna follow as your mentor, just do, if they're successful, do what they do, and because you'll get confused with a lot of options.
So one of the things I picked up, we do at our some of our summer meetings, we do an auction, and sometimes you pick up pieces of equipment that you're unfamiliar with. One of the things I picked up was one of these. It's basically, I think this is just it
was a feeder. I can see from the inside of it.
It was a shallow. I think it's a shallow, and somebody attached. Actually, I think I did this one. I attached screen to it. So I turned this shallow into a feeder. The one thing I like about this is I can put food over top, or I can put the food on top of my frames and create something. And in the summertime, I can actually open up my hive and look in it without getting attacked right away. It's a great way to have an observation in top.
And that's what we use in the winter, because you put the
That's
frame
exactly
down,
right.
you put the fronds, and they just do it in the frond it from the bottom.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
right.
all you do is you open the cover, and you can see immediately what you need.
Yeah, so this is a great way to check your bees in the winter time. Like he's saying, you can pick it up, you can just take a look, you can put in what you need. For the new people that are getting started, there's 2 ways you're gonna get started. You're gonna get a ready-made nuke or hive, or you're gonna get a package. If you get a package, one of the things that you have to do is you have to feed sugar water, and the sugar water is gonna help them build wax. If you get, actually in the spring, you're gonna feed everything with sugar water, but not necessarily needed if there's flowers blooming and stuff. But with
There's
new
a
bees,
flow.
I think you absolutely have to feed no matter what,
With a package.
with a package,
Well,
so.
ask two beekeepers, 5 answers. So the other answer to that is there a flow on? Is there lots of flowers out? You get a package, you dump them in. Are the frames drawn out already? If the frames are drawn out, then they can immediately start packing nectar and pollen into those frames. If they're not drawn out, they have to draw them out first. So there's an enormous amount of effort that they have to go to. So it, but generally speaking, yes, if you install a package, you've got to feed 1-to-1.
So to simplify this for the new people, you need a bottom board. You need something for the queen to lay in. You need a super. And you need some appropriate lid. That's basically it. Everything else was just extra stuff we're talking about, which you'll figure out as you go. It's not necessarily necessary.
Question.
Sure.
As heavy as it all gets, there's, I've read and heard that a way of monitoring is knowing the weight of your hive. How do you weigh it?
That's a good question. That was the question I had. And I believe there are scales, but most of us are not gonna buy scales and put on every hive. But most of the beekeepers, they do this. Okay.
So there isn't a little doodad like the infrared.
Get a scale.
Of fishing.
Fishing scale.
Yeah,
You still have to lift it up.
Well,
correct.
Yeah, but you don't have to lift it up. You have to lift it up about that far, about a 1/2 inch.
Yeah, but that's like 60 some odd pounds.
Or it could be 140
Or you get one of
pounds.
those brood minders.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna be when you lift that deep.
Yeah.
This is the scale that you put on the back or the front of a hive, and it'll tell you in real time
Oh,
what
alright.
the weight is.
Did we
Yeah,
door
you can't
price
do that.
those? One time we had to scale.
No, we did the scales. I don't think we did the brood monitors.
So,
I mean, the only reason you have to know how much it weighs is for the feed question. And my thing is
Eat them anyway.
feed them anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
you just addressed all the new people that this does not go on the ground.
Oh, that's a good point.
Okay, you
This
have
does
to
not
get this
go
up
on the ground.
18 inches,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's.
So there's a
cinder
lot of
blocks.
different ways to start out. A lot of people, like, I don't, Peggy's not here, is she? One of the ladies that I helped, she just went and got cinders and she just created this whole thing. And I'm like, Peggy, why did you do that? You could have just put a cinder, put some beams through it, and then a couple more cinders. But she built this entire thing with 4 billion cinders. And now she needs to add on, she needs to buy more cinders. You can go and get like a 4x4 beams and just stick them through the cinders. You can put them on top of the cinders, but you do have to get it off. Just keep in mind that the higher you start, the higher it's gonna go. So
But
the
the
minimal
reason-
effort, the minimal height off the ground is probably the best.
Yeah, 12 to 18 inches, and the reason we do that is because when animals come up to peek into a hive, this is their vulnerable spot, and those gargies will come and attack them there. So that's why we wanna lift it up off the ground so that they just can't get in that easy.
Yeah, it's not to keep mice out because they will still get in.
Yes, they will.
I think I covered it all. Does anybody have any questions?
Brings to mind the
What I missed?
mouse guards.
Uh,
You're gonna mention those?
I think we keep it simple for just but yeah, I mean, there's all kinds. I didn't do an entrance.
Okay.
yeah, we did last meeting, we talked about mouse guards, but that's an example of a piece of extruded aluminum, thin, hole drilled through it, screwed, and a
1/4 inch screen. The one thing you're gonna learn is that there's a lot of ways to work around making stuff.
So that's just a mouse guard on a hive.
Donna, there is 8 frames versus 10 feet.
Yeah, so these are 10 frame hives. You can do an 8 frame hive. I don't have any
Your
here,
8 frame?
but
Yep.
Yeah.
she's 8 frame.
So Carol does 8 frame mediums.
Yeah, and where's that lid that you had? Cause that was 8 frame, right? Hard to tell with that
That's an 8 frame.
top on it, but obviously if this is 10, then 8's here, and that's the whole purpose is just to get lighter. My thing is if you're gonna run mediums, don't do 8 frame.
Why?
I mean,
If I had to do it over again, it'd be 8 frames.
was it, okay, so here's the deal, if you go to lift it, I just take frames out to harvest. If you're one of the people that take the whole box and harvest, You can take a couple frames out. You can find the heaviest ones and take them out. So if you take out 2 and put them in a container, you now have an 8-frame box, the weight of an 8-frame. So for me, I'd rather have extra. And a lot of times, like I don't run 10, I run 9. I think even, was it Robin that was running 8? 9. She running 9? I was running 9 for my supers. She was running 9 for her brood. And she said the reason was just to really just have room to get her fingers in there. And yeah, they'll build up a little bit more cone, but that's okay.
If you use the top of the feeder, do you use that top board as well?
I don't have to. I don't need the inner cover if I do this because that is,
Put the top cover on and you're good to go.
because the screen is stopping them from getting to. So the screen's either stopping them there or the screen's stopping them.
So you wouldn't need the top.
I don't need it, just extras. Yeah.
Yeah, just be very, very careful if you're using. I'm sure no one here has
Yeah.
done this.
I know just.
You're
what you're
using,
saying.
you've got one of these on there and you forget
They will build.
a week or
Yeah.
more. This could be completely covered with comb up here.
Yeah, but it was
It
beautiful.
was beautiful. It was all.
It's so nice.
You don't need to flip it, they'll eat through that.
No, they won't. Metal?
No, they'll eat the
Eat
fondant.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
They will eat through
You
it.
should
Yeah.
have it flipped over and put the food in.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're gonna have that problem in the spring.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
early as you go in, it's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
Do it like
Yeah,
that,
do it
put
like
the
that all
fondant
the
on
time.
top.
That is how I do. I'm just showing people they have options for different things.
No, you
Oh,
wanna
the
do it
other
that
way's
way.
just wrong.
That's not me that, none of the other ones
I
are
don't
put on.
remember why I had mine.
That's the right
I
option.
had mine upside down because they built in it. Do you remember why I had it upside down? I don't know. Sometimes I just like to see what happens.
Yeah. No, we're just gonna make a call out because they didn't bring the tickets.
No, normally well, it depends. If you're gonna run mediums, you absolutely need 2 brood boxes. You don't wanna run 1 medium brood
I
box.
see 3 sometimes too, just.
Yeah, you're gonna go 2 or 3.
I normally do.
Yeah. So George runs single deeps, some people run double deeps, but if you're running mediums, you need at a minimum 2, if not 3. Yeah. Anybody, any experienced people wanna add anything or tell me something else I did wrong?
Don't ask that question.
I know, right?
Brenda, were you doing a presentation as well?
Somebody doing this wax thing up here? Who brought the wax?
Charlie.
I could put that as for the,
You want me to do it real fast?
For the auction?
that was
Or for the raffle?
that was for the raffle.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
You can show them
Well,
that.
but let me have that. This is and Charlie, because you're road, right? Yeah. So this is a paint roller. Buy a paint roller. This is a frying pan. When your significant other isn't looking, grab a frying pan or grab it, you grabbed it from going to the garbage, right?
But you was throwing it out.
It's being thrown out. So, grab a pan. This is kind of nice because it's shallow but fairly wide. You pour your wax in there. You don't want to get it. You want to get it just as hot enough for it to melt. You don't want it to get like boiling. Because guess what wax is when it's really hot? Yeah, it's flammable. Have it over a heat source and whoosh. Anyway, you just take the wax, you roll it on there. In the wax, you grab a frame and you just roll it across the frame. If you think you're not getting enough in, dip it again, roll it again.
What do you do?
I do it just before I put them in the hive. But as Mom pointed out, you could do them now.
New frames.
New frames, yeah, absolutely. Even if you get triple wax frames, your wax is better than the wax that they're using.
So thin.
Be generous.
Be generous.
As a new beekeeper, if you don't have the existing wax,
You can buy it at Mike's also. They can sell bricks.
Like, it's.
Or
But buy it from a bee source, not from like Amazon or something, correct?
Don't buy it from these, don't buy it from, get it from Ike.
Yeah, get it from a bee supplier.
Local beekeeper. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Forest
Hill
Hills.
woodworking, Forest Hill beekeeping.
How you do?
You can buy, what they need to buy their stuff, like Man Lake, Ike's.
Better be.
Do they know that?
Yeah, Man Lake, yeah. But no matter how they wax it, it's not enough. You're right. You just keep putting it on.
You need to get equipment, I think you wanna hit 3 different places, you can check the price. You check out Ike's, Man Lake, and Better Bee.
Yeah.
There's dating too.
And they're closed on
Dating.
Tuesdays
Yeah.
and Sundays.
Dating has the best smokers.
That's what?
Smokers.
Smokers,
So the-
different than
But the
bunkers.
closest is Ike's.
Yes, if you wanna go look, you go to Ike's.
That's like an hour away.
Nickel miser.
Thank you. 52 minutes.
Yeah.
But they're Amish, so they're closed on Sundays.
And Tuesdays, and plan on, if you get there at noon, you're gonna wait a half an hour, cause
He's having lunch.
The other thing is,
Yeah.
they close at noon on Saturday.